Good job, great. All right, hello everyone, welcome to Helicon West. Glad to have you all here tonight. Helicon West is an uncensored public reading series. We host published authors and community writers to showcase all levels of skill and craft. We welcome open mic readers. We welcome donations to keep Helicon West going. You will find a sign-up sheet for open mic and bookmarks with a QR code link for donations at the coffee station in that back corner over there. Help yourself to some Cafe Ibis decaf while you're signing up or donating, and be sure to use a lid if you do, so we can keep our carpet pristine as possible. Helicon West humbly acknowledges that we are here on the territory of the northwestern band of the Shoshone Nation. We are grateful for our sponsors and partners, Sugar House Review, the Logan Library, the USU English Department, Cafe Ibis, and many community volunteers. For information, interviews, and more, please visit heliconwest.wordpress.com. We have a ton of little tidbits for reading on there, interviews with featured authors, some pieces that are unpublished by some of them. Some pretty cool stuff, so yeah, it's definitely worth a look. Thank you. But without further ado, I will introduce our featured reader. Tim Tarbet is an avid reader, writer, martial artist, and role player. In fact, the first actual piece of fiction he wrote was for a homebrew Dungeons & Dragons campaign that he ran with his friends and family. I can relate. It wasn't excellent, and he soon lost control of the group, but it helped him realize that crafting stories was a lot easier when you didn't have to worry about those pesky players. He is the current president of the Good AF Writers, a critique group which he founded early in 2017. The members of the chapter often joke that his motto is, "It's not good unless it has a body count." This is entirely unjustified. He has, in fact, written several pieces in which nobody dies, including the title story of the League's 2016 anthology, Volatile When Mixed. Some of his favorite authors include Cormac McCarthy, Madeline L'Engle, Brandon Sanderson, Robert Jordan, and Glenn Cook. So please give a warm round of applause for Tim.
Thank you, Woody, for that wonderful introduction. So I started writing pretty much when I was in college. I quickly joined Tim Keller's group, the Cache Valley writing group. I brought in some rather terrible pieces, and hopefully I've improved over the years. That was about 10, 12 years ago. Cool. So it's actually how long I've been working on this piece. So, huh?
You were a kid then.
Definitely not a kid now. So this piece was originally titled Lurker when I started working on it, and it has since evolved into To Name the Dark. This is an excerpt. Well, this is the first chapter, which I'll be reading tonight. Hopefully it doesn't scare you too badly. In this one there are bodies, so take that for what it's worth. Death, to leak out the redness that gave life, to stop moving, to be unbound from flesh and from form. Something like that. The nameless one didn't understand it very well. Murder, to let out this red muck that ran through these creatures' bodies. Some dripped from his claws. What did these things call it? Blood? Yes, that was it. Blood. Useful stuff. More useful than the things that carried it. He stepped over a body, shifting one of the appendages of one of these things. It flopped into place, the glassy eyes reflecting his shadow as he moved. There. That was right. Not perfect, but he would need to murder another one of these things for that, and there wasn't time to hunt one down. Time. Another concept invented by these small-minded things, one that bound him, confused him, constrained him, much like this lanky collection of flesh and bone. For being so tiny, so impotent, these things came up with a number of strange ideas, rules. What was the point of these pitiful creatures anyway? He couldn't remember. The veil wrapped around his memories. smothering them like the coals of a dying star. They were important. He could remember that much, and he hated them. The very thought of them made him want to scream, to shake off not only the filth of their viscera, but his very being, this matter that trapped him. He was too large for this form, too large for this reality. Arrogant little things. Death and murder implied something of value had been lost when these things ceased to move, to breathe. He heard a metallic squeal and a sudden intake of breath behind him. Another one. How fortunate. More blood, more bone, more meat for the sign. That, and the sounds of suffering they made as they became severed, were still so delightful. He turned and met the thing's eye. He knew this one, though he could not remember from where. Already the veil was settling upon him, but he did know his name. Jonathan. Blood dripped from the human's cheek and his hands. I barely cut that out. Before he could move, he leapt at the poor, fat creature as it desperately tried to grab the thing at its hip. Delicious terror was plastered on the thing's face. What were these creatures called again? Humans? He could barely remember, but he did remember that. Only a race so barely capable of independent thought would ever call themselves something so undescriptive. This one was faster than it looked, faster than its fellows had been. By the time the lurker had landed, it had already drawn the gleaming thing from its head. This was going to be more fun than he'd thought. He dove behind the pudgy thing as the object in its hand banged and flashed. The light burned his eyes and something whizzed past him. Not fast enough. He spun and lashed out, severing one of the silly thing's legs. A stream of red erupted as it fell, wet and steaming. The thing in its hand banged again as the creature fell, and something pinged lamely in the corner of the building. A warm, dark feeling bubbled up inside him. More. He wanted more of this sensation, this feeling. He vanished into the shadows as the thing howled. Its screams were succulent. A pleasant tingle ran up the nameless one's spine. But even more entertaining was what it did next. The human took the silly piece of cloth it wore around its neck and tied it as tightly as it could around its severed leg, pinching off the fountain of warm, sticky essence. He laughed, a sound that echoed and rumbled through the enclosure. The pitiful thing thought it was actually going to survive. He reached out and pushed over a squat metal cylinder. The clang echoed through the chamber. By the time the human had whipped its head around and fired, however, he was already gone, dashing behind the human, letting the wind stir its hair. Another bang. He laughed again, stalking at the edge of the thing's vision. Bang. The human was weeping now, blubbering, in fact. It was almost cute. Fascinating how these pitiful creatures clung to life, to light. Even now, the blubbering thing was dragging itself to a small puddle of light, pushing aside the nameless one's work, smearing itself with the blood and offal of its comrades. Greedy little creatures, small, distinct, cacophonous, terrible little things that dragged themselves away from the one, the all, stealing themselves away to be. A terrible mistake that he would soon correct. Finally, he crept into the incandescent puddle the human had drug itself into. The human's eyes widened as he saw the full glory of the nameless one's form. As he closed in on his prey, the human raised his weapon. It was trembling so violently, the nameless one thought it might shake itself to pieces. and just as he was about to sink his long black claws into his soft flesh, the human fired. Something impacted his chest like a meteorite, knocking him back a pace and igniting in the center of his chest like a newborn star. A new feeling bloomed in his chest, small and sharp, shattering all the others. Pain, a thing he had never known before. He threw his head back and howled. He clutched and tore at the hole in his bosom, shrieking and writhing, his screams echoing off the walls. What had this insolent wretch done to him? It was like a speck of rage sunk into his chest, searing his physical form, this corpus. He howled, and the walls quivered, and the puddle of light flickered. It was maddening. He had met stars before, slain them, strewn their broken bodies across the cosmos as he gnawed upon their souls. He would not be beaten by this tiny bead of wrath stuck between his bones. He looked up. The creature, the human, still pointed the primitive weapon at him, shaking as the metal clinked and twitched and jerked in his hand. He roared, then leapt at the creature. It screamed for a long time after that. Scissorhands? Fits the MO, don't it? Detective Rathford had to admit that it did. The victim's wounds looked like someone had strapped foot-long razor blades to their fingers and gone ballistic. You sure we don't have the security footage? Look, Rath, I've told you 3 times. No, we got no security footage. The company was using fucking VHS tapes, and they all ran out at 1:45. How did all of the tapes run out at the same time? Weren't those things supposed to last all night? And who used VHS tapes for security systems anymore? Rathford shook his head. Something was wrong here beyond the general slaughter of the teens and the security guard. He held a handkerchief to his nose and knelt down to get a better look at one of the victims. He took a pen from his pocket and pulled back the drop cloth that covered the security officer. Officer Walton blanched and looked away. The man's chest cavity had been nearly vacated. The spine and, strangely enough, the heart were intact, but that was pretty much it. It was hard to tell which organ belonged to which corpse, or even which organ was which. They thought they had found a stomach in the rafters, lungs shredded and splattered over nearby shelves. No livers, though. Walton cleared his throat, eyes locked on his shoes. There are 5 other bodies, same wound pattern. None near as bad, though. He had a gun, too, a revolver, empty. Did he hit the perp? Can't tell. There's no way we're going to be able to tell whose blood is who in this mess. DNA is going to be a fucking nightmare. Rathford rolled his eyes and glared at his superior. Did you find a blood trail leaving the building? Walton coughed. No footprints either. A slow breath escaped from Rathford's lips, and he looked around. The other bodies were in varying states of carnage. Walton was right, though. None of them showed the signs of thorough desecration that the security officer did. Desecration. Rathford rolled that word around in his head for a moment. Why did that word feel so right? He shook his head. He'd never been a religious man. Grew up Catholic, but that was about it. Didn't know if he even believed in God nowadays. And yet, he couldn't shake the weight of that word. Desecration. Does this place have catwalks? They're a bit squishy. Doesn't matter. Are they clear? I guess so. Forensics cleared out here, 2 hours ago? Show me. Rathford and Walton looked down at the gruesome scene. His superior heaved several times, trying to maintain his breakfast. Use your hat. What? Your hat. I know you're squeamish, but if you puke on my crime scene, both of us are going to hang for it. Look, Rath, just because this is your scene doesn't mean you get to boss. But then Walton retched and re-yanked off his hat and held it in front of his face. His generous stomach rippled, emptying a stream of bile into it. Rathford was glad he hadn't eaten before he came. Even so, the bodies splayed out in front of him on the main floor of the building threatened to make him retch. The bodies and the gore leered at him, taunting him almost. They made a circle, arranged in such a way that it almost appeared to be eating one another, like something out of a Geiger painting. Did forensics get pictures from this angle? Walton shook his head. Get it back here then. I want the whole warehouse from up here. Panoramas too. Rathford half expected his boss to object, but Walton simply murmured an affirmative. Maybe he saw what Rathford did. From the ground, the gore seemed simply haphazard destruction. Now, the poor corpses leered up at him, and Rathford could see something. The circle was too precise, too consistent, like the bodies and bones had been warped to fit. What he thought were random smears of blood connected the corpses in almost graceful sweeps, almost snake-like. Something whispered in the back of his mind, squirming and slithering, but he couldn't quite catch it. A symbol he'd seen before, but couldn't remember. Unbidden, a memory came to his mind from when he was a boy. A snake eating its own tail, writhing on the pavement in front of his house. He'd tried to pull it apart. The snake only hissed and bit down harder, the teeth leaving gashes in its own scales while tears streamed down his face. Stop it. You're hurting yourself, he'd said, as if the snake could understand him. Eventually, he did get the snake apart, but instead of slithering away, it bent down on its own tail once more, swallowing itself until it died. Ouroboros. Rathford shuddered and turned away, gripping the handrail. Couldn't look at it now. Forensics would come back and take pictures. He could look at it then, on a computer screen or paper, when it was less real. The two made their way out of the building, and Rathford leaned against the wall as soon as the door closed, and took a deep breath to steady his nerves. The smell of death was still there. It lingered in his nostrils. He snorted and blew twin streams of snot onto the pavement, as if that would rid him of the smell. It would pass. Just another shitty day on the job. He always got stuck with the worst cases. Shouting snatched Rathford from his reverie. He grabbed his wrists and dashed around the corner. Two police officers were struggling with a wiry, black-haired man on a warehouse loading dock. The man rammed one of the officers into a wall and tossed the other bodily off the dock, where he landed with a wet crunch and howled, bone peeking out of his arm like a new sapling. The man had one of the officer's firearms. Rathford dropped to one knee and yanked out his own pistol from his underarm holster and brought it to bear on the man. Hold it! Walton on his left. It took Rathford a moment to realize that Walton was talking to him, not the man in a suit. Put the gun down, Senator. We can talk about this. The man was surprisingly well dressed, Rathford noticed. Silk suit, polished shoes, black hair gray at the temples, and a grin too wide, too tight, too many teeth. Rathford thought he recognized him, but the feeling was fleeting, and he did not drop his service weapon. Drop the weapon. The words left his mouth, but they sounded far away. The man only grinned wider and giggled. The officer on the ground moaned. You won't stop him, you know. Won't stop who? Rathford found his voice again. Who did this? The madman giggled again. He's come, and you won't stop him. Slowly he began to raise the gun towards Rathford. Senator, don't. Think about what you're doing. Drop it. We will fire. Rathford tightened his grip on his pistol, trying desperately to keep his breath under control. You won't stop him. The cycle continues unabated. The darkness devours the light. The one who walks between has come to make us whole, come to return us to she who is above all. The barrel of the gun continued to rise. Senator, drop the fucking gun! Walton sounded far away. He will consume us all, but I know. I will transcend. Rathford squeezed the trigger, the slide of his 9mm ramming back and ejecting the brass corpse of a bullet. His ears rang as the man stumbled back. His finger plucked the trigger each time his sights rested on the man's torso, gently, smoothly, as if he were plucking out some sweet melody. More smoking brass bodies rang on the cement. Ragged holes popped through the madman's suit as he stumbled and listed, but remained upright. Finally, the slide of Rathford's gun locked open. The madman listed back, then forward, steadying himself. Cheshire grin still stretched across his face, blood dripping from it now. He raised the gun, pointing it at Rathford. The hand trembled, and Rathford thought that even if the madman somehow managed to fire, he would probably miss. He could see down the barrel of the gun, could almost sense the bullet lurking there in the darkness, thirsting for blood. Rathford's heart quivered coldly in his chest. The pistol tumbled from the crazed man's hand and clattered to the ground. He took one trembling step forward and coughed. Blood and spittle ran between his teeth in a pink foam and down his chin. He fell to his knees, then down onto the concrete. Walton moved past Rathford, going to check the man's pulse, probably. A formality. Nobody could take that much lead and survive. Rathford simply lowered his pistol, trying to get control of his breathing. Jesus fuck. Call an ambulance. Tell him the fucking senator. He quietly slipped out the spent magazine from his pistol and pulled out a new one. He was just sliding it in when a yelp made him drop it. Rathford jerked his head up as Walton fell on his ass and scrambled backwards. He stared, wide-eyed, at the man bleeding on the ground. What is it? Rathford asked. He's looking at me. What the hell are you talking about? Rathford grabbed his fallen bag and walked over to the corpse. There's no way he can... Rathford jumped. The dead man was looking at him. His eyes flickered between him and Walton as blood seeped out of his nostrils and from between his teeth. All right, that's chapter 1. So I have a few other things prepared. I don't know if we have time for it. So these are a couple of poems that came to me, as writers like to say, when I was driving down, I think it was to Nevada or Arizona. My brother was not terribly happy with me as I was furiously writing down notes on how to capture some of these things. We were driving through kind of the Red Rock Desert, and there was a huge amount of snow and storms. It was a really impactful image, and I just had to write it down, much to my brother's unhappy chagrin. So these are kind of freeform, kind of whatever. Desert fog. You drive in a land enshrouded by mist, a line of asphalt beneath your feet. The only real thing in a world dissolved by fog. Flecks of cloud, downward drift, and flecks of black rise to meet them. Crows and snow dancing in the white. No clear cleft between sand and sky. Stifled and silent under the snow and mist. The very last thing that moves in this forgotten land. As you drive, snow-clad behemoths slide from the mist. Huge, geometric, cataclysmic. like ancient ships moored forever on the sea bottom after the inland sea fled, the very waters blasted and driven into the ocean. Before you, a waste, wind-swept and sky-scoured, full of rust and black stone, obsidian and foamed basalt, riddled with the bones of ancient temples, the foundations like ridges of mountains. Older and greater than the greatest monuments of man, erected in the aeons before man was, and fallen before man ever came to be, erected to gods, unremembered and unappeased these long millennia, their baleful eye turned to the inheritors of their fallen majesty, poor stewards indeed, and they cannot help but turn away and leave nothing behind them but a nameless curse. Before you lies an expanse, austere, empty, aching, a waste where no thing lives. In the distance, sheer cliffs, the ages of the earth writ large in bands of orange, crimson, ivory. The wind stirs, cold and full of grit, under a sun that is cold and blue, and gives no warmth. Your lungs ache with the size of it, the chill of it. You fill them near to bursting just to feel, for a moment, what it might be like to have such an expanse. But the feeling fades, and the winds burst forth from out of your lungs and leave you small once again. The sun sets, colors play on the horizon like water mammals, their play echoed in the stark cliffs. Then they are gone, and the dark is all that remains. In the distance, the moon rises in her gentle, lonely arc through the sky, driven by some unknown errand. Stars, like eyes, look down at you, twinkling, full of celestial mirth, whispering secrets to one another that you can almost hear, secrets that sound in your bones and make you wonder if you are not star-stuffed too. You reach out to them, stretching, straining, your fingertips pricking with the cold starlight. But you touch only blackness and fall back to stone and sand and flesh. Not yet, they whisper. Not yet, little thing. These secrets are not yet for you, and the veil remains. So, I have, sorry, I don't know if you should get emotional over your own writing. So, the last thing I'm going to read tonight, if there's time, it is an excerpt from a different piece that I'm writing. Funny story, I never actually envisioned myself as an author, much less a horror author. Growing up, my sister was the one who did all of the horror stuff. Like, she read all of Lovecraft's stuff, she read all of Edgar Allan Poe's stuff. I was actually more of a sci-fi guy. And I have some sci-fi pieces too, but I don't have that here for tonight. So this is kind of this is an excerpt from a SCP style piece. I don't know how many of you know that reference. Basically, it's a spec ops team that investigates paranormal events. And in this instance, they are investigating a mine shaft that has fallen under a malignant influence. Yales stood before the yawning abyss. Vertigo nearly consumed him. It was like standing on a wall over a bottomless pit, deeper and darker than the reaches of space. A black thing that, like that crazy new artificial black that absorbed like 99% of all light. Vita black or something like that. They'd made suits out of it for spec ops teams, only to find that it made them stand out more. The operatives were blacker than the shadows they were hiding in. That stuff had nothing on this abyss. He took a deep breath, one of many. He'd been standing there for nearly a minute, waiting for... his team had been standing there for nearly a minute, waiting for his go-ahead. Nobody else wanted to take the dive either. The safety of his weapon clicked under his thumb. On, off, on, off, on, off. Go through the checklist again. Armored vests? Check. They won't do you any good. Lamps? Shoulder-mounted, weapon-mounted, and head-mounted? Check. The black will eat your light like it will eat your soul. Masks and filters? Check. Fire support? He glanced at Carter, splayed on the ground, cheek resting on Loki's stalk. 3 screens set at arm length. If there was something that had never failed him on a mission, it was Carter. Tech support? Schmidt tinkered with one of his AR vision lenses. Willis? She refused to take anything more than a pistol on missions. She was good with it, though, so he learned not to argue. That stare worried him, though. What did she see in the dark? He patted his spare mags. 5 of them, another loaded. Ration bars, water, glow sticks. It was past time. All right, enough waiting around. Masks on. He pulled his gas mask over his face. Comm check. Roger. Schmidt. Loud and clear, boss. I await the embrace of the dark. God damn it, Willis, why you gotta be like that? He could have sworn he saw a hint of smile behind her eyepieces. He shook his head. All right, boys and girls, let's do this. Leroy Jenkins. He charged his rifle and marched into the mine. The patter of boots echoed in the tunnel. Spotlights dotted the walls, dimmer than they should have been. Another dozen paces in, Yales turned back. Carter, you still read us? Yeah, boss. The video coming through? Better than ever. Bobby Boy's a miracle worker. Just keep your eyes off his ass while we're in here. That's gonna be awfully hard, boss. This scope's really... Schmidt, get your camera rolling. Yes, sir. A click, barely heard. This is Agent Schmidt on assignment 701-223. We are in the High Uintas investigating a mine that has recently come under the influence of an unknown entity. Preliminary scouting via drone has revealed very little. They marched on while Schmidt's voice hummed. Not only was Schmidt the newbie, but Yales liked the sound of his voice. At times, that deep bass rumble was the only tether back to normalcy. Yales looked back at the entrance, smaller than it should have been, the size of his outstretched thumb. He held up a fist and stomped. The dark swallowed the light from his headlamp. He felt like some fish at the bottom of the sea with a bioluminescent lure. The biggest fish didn't use lures. They ate the ones that did. Had the entrance gotten smaller? The size of his fingertip now. Willis, start dropping breadcrumbs. Every 10 meters. No response, but a sharp crack and a daub of phosphorescent green in the dark. All right, move out. Keep an eye out for the service station. That won't work, Sam. Won't hurt to try, Sue. At 100 yards, they found the checkpoint, a candy cane barrier, a little guard post, a door set into the rock face. Sue. Willis nodded, advanced, raised her boot and heeled in the door at the handle. The crack echoed in the dark, distorted to a deep laugh, then faded. She gave Yales a meaningful look, then strode in. Clear. Lights? They're already on. Toggle them. Yales could nearly hear Willis's eye roll in the dark, but she said nothing. Click. 1, 2, 3, 4. Click. No sound, but a shadow's breathing. Again. Click. 1, 2, 3. click, then a deep crack, and a double string of parallel lights burst to life along the ceiling. Then another down on the tunnel. What might have been a screech echoed behind the sound of the deep whack of the lights advancing. Some flickered, but they did not falter. Yales nodded, and Willis emerged from the booth, pupils shrinking. Still, she didn't blink, even as Yale's and Schmidt's eyes fluttered like dying butterflies. "God damn it, boss. Warn me next time," Carter crackled over the radio. "Sorry." He turned to Willis. "Keep dropping breadcrumbs." She nodded. Yales took a deep breath. The mine curved downward and to the right in another 50 meters. That might have been why Schmidt hadn't been able to find the elevator. Might have been. "Keep your lights and your masks on and your eyes open. These lights probably won't last long. We find the worker access elevator and send one of Schmidt's drones down. If we determine it to be safe, we keep going. If not, we back out. Go." As they went, Yales got more and more tense. These lights were entirely too large for a mine of this size. They were like stadium lights, baking the inside of the mine with a blank white. Mines didn't use lights like this. Didn't need them, didn't want the expense of installation or maintenance. "How much cable do you have?" 200 meters. Schmidt pulled out an RC car and a spool. He made to put his visor on, but Yales clicked his tongue. Schmidt looked up. "Use a screen." Schmidt opened his mouth, then looked down the curving tunnel and nodded. "Wait, is the cable gonna get pinched on the way down?" "We're about to find out." Yales hit the down button with the heel of his hand. The lift sank, cables spooling. Nothing caught. "Willis, keep an eye on the shaft." "Schmidt, do your thing." Yales turned to the ramp and went on one knee. "I'll watch this way." Silence. Almost silence. The lights above flickered and buzzed. They were LEDs. They shouldn't be making any noise at all. "We've reached the first level, sir." "What do you see?" "Safety barriers already up. Lights are down here or on too." Yales glanced at Willis. She cocked an eyebrow. He nodded and swallowed. "What else?" "Not much. Everything seems clear. No movement, no..." "Whoa." "Whoa?" "The lights at the end just went out. There goes another one. They're failing one after another. Pull your..." Then came the sound of a muffled bell from the shaft, again and again, louder with each keen, and then the lift cable snapped with a screech and an echoing peal. Schmidt's cable whirred out of the spool and was gone, yanking the controller down the shaft with it. Schmidt stared after it, mouth agape. "Son of a... what just..." A crash echoed through the tunnel and vomited out of the shaft, and dust vomited out of the shaft. As the sound faded, another came from down the ramp. A great crack, then another, closer and closer. "Move!" Willis was off like a gazelle. Yales followed, then looked back. Schmidt was gathering his equipment. Yales pounced on him and yanked him to his feet. "Leave it!" Another crack. One of the lights on the ramp went out, then another. Yales spun Schmidt toward the entrance and pushed him. Too late. If you have to run, it was already too late. They ran anyway. The lights failed faster and faster, thundering like lightning, then gone. Glass showered them. The lights in front failed in quick succession, like a string of fireworks down to the entrance. Dark swallowed them like a cold fog. Already much too late. "Halt!" They skidded to a stop. Running into something unseen was more dangerous than whatever was behind them. Back to back. "Willis, you're our eyes. Follow the glow sticks. Move." Yales pressed his back into the backs of the other two, forming a three-pointed star. Schmidt, tall, hot, Solid on his right, Willis on his left. Small, cold. He wasn't even sure she was breathing hard. You got eyes on our breadcrumbs, Willis? Most of them. He pushed 2 fingers against his ear. Carter, you read? Carter! Nothing. Not even static. All right, Willis, pop a flare and lead us out. Schmidt, anything moves, fill it full of lead. Stay in formation. A pop and a hiss, then light, red, bloody, painful, illuminated the tunnel. Shadows leered on walls, parodies of faces, claws that disappeared under the white glare of his weapon light. Where the tunnel had echoed at every opportunity before, the dark now swallowed every sound. Yales could hear little more than his own breathing, hot and heavy inside his mask. Even the patter of his boots seemed small and far away. How are we doing, Sue? Flare's dying. What? It's been 2 minutes. Look. Already burning low. A moment later, it began to sputter. Son of a whore's ass. You shouldn't try to be creative with your curses, Sam. You're not good at it. We're about to be eaten by a shadow monster, and this is what you're talking about? Willis shrugged against him, and a moment later, the flare popped and died. The flashlights on their weapons began to flicker. We ain't really going to get eaten, are we, sir? I don't want to be... I never figured their flashlights died. Fucking shitballs. Yales hit the light with the heel of his hand. Tell me you've got another flare, Sue. Too late. What do you mean, too late? Cut the mystic crap and give me a straight answer for once in your goddamn... The darkness laughed, and his flashlight sputtered back to life, revealing a great yellow eye, lidded with teeth. Yales fired. The eye burst like a pustule, showering him in a cold, black muck. Run! He held down the trigger, emptying the magazine, reloading as he ran, dumping that one into the darkness as well. Muzzle flashes revealed a wall of eyes and teeth and tentacles, all laughing, all screeching. One tentacle grabbed Willis by the ankle and she went down hard. Yales grabbed her by the vest, fired at the tentacle until it came apart and yanked her to her feet. Carter, if you can hear this, we're going to need some covering fire. Static. He tore out another magazine. Last one. Something whizzed past his head, and a heartbeat later, a crack left his ears ringing. The darkness screeched and recoiled. Another round impacted. It howled again. Thank God for Carter. A roar shook the mountainside, reverberating through his bones. Schmidt stumbled but kept running, kept firing. I'm out. Just run. Yales dumped his last rounds into the darkness, and the darkness lashed out, writhing tentacles and teeth. Another round from Carter, but this time the darkness did not recoil, closing in. Carter, tell me you've got Thor set up. Through a haze of snow and static, I thought you'd never ask. A heartbeat, 2, 3, too long. Yales could feel the dark reaching out, cold breath on his neck, teeth on his ears, whispers in his bones. I have you. I have you now. I will rend your flesh and your souls. I will swallow you whole in the name of my eternal hunger. What felt like a freight train impacted with an echoing slap. The dark howled in rage and pain, and the report shattered the air. Good job, Carter. It's a little soon to say I told you so, but just keep firing. He could see the entrance, 50 meters. They were going to make it. Reloading. Thor only held 3 rounds. He'd been counting on 5. He ran. 20 meters. A screech shook the tunnel. 18 meters. Dark closed in at the edge of his vision. He couldn't tell if it was his mask fogging or the thing itself. 10 meters. He could feel the creature's breath on his arms, on his neck, tickling the back of his mind. Don't struggle. I shall thieve you away, show you such beautiful. Carter fired again, and the muzzle blast hit him like a wave. The darkness shrieked, and Yales and Schmidt and Willis burst out into the light, heaving and gasping. Yales tore the mask from his face, ripped his weapon harness off and vest, tore at his shirt. The discarded clothes steamed in the sunlight. His skin was cold and white where the creature's ichor had seeped through the fabric. He touched it and winced. Saline! Willis was already moving, ripping open a med pack and rushing over with a liter bottle of emergency eye wash as he stripped the rest of the way down. The white had spread below his waist, but no lower. Small blessings. Particularly small. Fear did not have a flattering effect on one's privates. He drenched himself. Woo! Carter was laughing. Y'all would have been done for if it hadn't been for me and my expert shooting. She picked up her 20-millimeter rifle, taller than she was, and rested the butt on her hip, then immediately lost her balance and fell on her ass. Yales fell to his knees, gasping, and looked back. 100 teeth glistened, and twice as many eyes glinted, swimming in random drifts, disappearing and opening and closing and smiling at him. This is not the end. You will return. And even if you do not, I will come for you. This paltry prison cannot hold me for much longer. Sue, Yales heaved. What the hell was that? Willis lay on her back, staring at the sky. She merely shook her head. Schmidt groaned and leaned against the munitions van. Is it always like this with you guys? Yales gave half a laugh and started to cough. Yeah? What did you expect? I don't know. Bigfoot or something. Yales fell back onto the gravel and laughed hysterically.
Thank you, Tim.
Thank you.
All right, let's have another round of applause for Tim. And now we'll move on to the open mic portion of our event. We will have our first three readers being Mike, Pam, and Star. For everyone who wants to still sign up, the sign-up sheet will be over here on this table, and that way you kind of have to interact with Tim and his writing to do so.
Well, Tim, I'll be ordering a copy of your book in the morning. Is he in the room? Where is he? Did he go outside? Okay, heck with him. Did he bring a copy of it? I'd like to see the cover.
I think he's still working on the cover.
He's still working on it?
Yeah, that-
Then if I order it tomorrow, well, that's all right, because we won't get it till after the 31st.
Right.
Okay. I don't know what it is about his writing, but I belong to the same writing group he does. And for some reason, it always inspires me. I like his words. I love the way he puts them together. It gives me a whole different mood. For some reason, is lifting. I'm 91 years old this year. I've had over 100 vaccinations. What I'm going to share with you tonight I call standalones. I don't know where they come from sometimes, and if I can capture them, I get them. If I don't, I don't. But anyway, I'll share these little standalones with you, and I hate to follow someone like Tim. Is there anything more stupid, idiotic, and irrational than people refusing vaccines that have been proven time and again to prevent deadly diseases? That's one. America is the only country in the world that is made up of people from other countries. Number two, none of us is free of a history. To understand the personal convictions of any man, we must reach back in time to that place where invention spawns and the seeds of tomorrow are planted. The problem with history Today's perspective must be set aside. We must transcend the current cultural climate and frame the cognitive eye with elements of yesterday's time and place. If we do not, understanding will be the rule rather than the exception. I blame Trump for that, for giving it to me. All I had to do was know the opposite of whatever he said. I've come to realize that every person in Helicon West, or however you say it, how do you say it?
That's how you say
You
it.
got it.
Helicon?
Helicon.
Yeah.
Okay, there's no I in there.
There is.
Heli-
Helicon.
Helicon.
Like helipad,
Okay.
but con. It's
For some reason, I have trouble once in a while with words. For instance, I'm dyslexic, I can't spell worth a damn. I can't form a word in my mind and come out with the right spelling. I don't know how anyway, but anyway. Okay, I've come to realize that every person in here is a voice for freedom. Our voices, therefore, are not a gift to mankind, they are its necessity.
Yeah.
Together, they ripple and expand, our voices do, until the base grows from a puddle to a pool to a lake, and suddenly we are looking at an overwhelming idea. No one can deny, and an ocean of energy declares true and right what was already true and right, but few could see. Our voices, your voices, are as valuable as wings on a bird.
Yeah.
If I bend over, I may not get back up.
I got you. This is my problem.
Thank you, Mike. Oh, screw. Yeah.
I'm going to share a piece that I read at the last Helicon West, and I've added a little bit to it, worked on it. I have a working in progress title of Hope in 2026. I'm feeling lost, but I am found. I'm stressed, but I have hope. I don't understand where we're at today. Chaos rules are gone. Bullies lead us, leaders have left us. It's hard to hold on, but I have to hold on. I grip tight to hope, to peace. I try to release fear. It's easier when I hang out with like-minded friends, people with compassion and ethics, kindness and justice, people who care about our Constitution and the rule of law. I only ask for justice, for just us. Just all of us, U.S. citizens, and justice for all. It seems a simple ask, a simple task. It could unite and ground us together in a common cause. I am safe, I am loved, I am heard, I can help, I peacefully protest, I will be heard. I'm feeling lost. I am found. Thank you. I think I have time for a second one. A friend of mine has been going through some grief, and I haven't called her every single day to bother her or interrupt her, but I wrote this to let her know I'm thinking about her. I send good energy and healing love to you, magically, from my house and my heart, to your house and your heart. I imagine it transported on a soft breeze, like a small ceramic pot of colorful glitter. If some should spill along the way, more will be created to fill the pot. It's never ending. Maybe some will fall along the breeze to someone who needs a hug or a boost of good energies. When they can pay it forward from their heart out into the world. I haven't disturbed you with heavy questions, invitations to leave your home, not just yet. But I have thought beautiful thoughts of you and sent you good energies and healing love. Grieve and write and heal, my friend. Thank you.
Hi everyone, thank you Tim and Mike and Pam, and that made it a little bit tough for me to stand up here and read this piece. I'm going to be brave. Heaven. My 55-year-old daughter Diana is dying of liver and kidney failure. The last time I spoke with her, before she quit speaking and quit eating 3 days ago, she said she was going to cow heaven. My daughter Diana loves cows. She worked on a farm, on and off and on again, in Boston, Wisconsin, for 8 years, the longest time she ever held a job. Even if you count the long breaks she took when she got mad and quit to go work at the grocery store or a convenience store or a dollar store, she always went back to the cows. She walked 2 miles to and from the farm twice a day, except when she caught another ride with a worker or drove the Kubota home when it wasn't busy. It was always busy. She didn't mind walking. She sometimes took a cornfield route, took photos of giant, colorful moths and other insects, texted them to me when she didn't have her earbuds in, walking to rock music on her phone. The cows and calves were what she looked forward to every day, 7 days a week. Milked cows for the first few years, calling to tell me about the carousel milking machine, the concrete floors, and the cranky cows that kicked and pushed and sprayed shit. The favorite cows that licked her and nuzzled their heads in her hoodie-covered chest. My daughter said the other farm workers always had trouble getting the cows to go in the milking shed. The workers, all men, hit and kicked and clubbed the cows, and the cows just got more stubborn. But my daughter Diana whispered and sang to the cows, and they followed her in the milking shed as if she were the cow piper. Milking was rough and dangerous, and Diana's health suffered. So the farm owner, the grandma, gave Diana calf duty instead. 40 or 50 buckets of milk to fill and carry and hang on the calf pens and take away when the calves were full, empty buckets to wash and store in the shed, syringes to fill with vitamins and vaccinations and meds for curing the calf scours. Diana checked the calves for illness, gave the calves their shots and supplements, ordered fresh straw for the calf pens, made sure the calves got moved out for sales when they got big enough. Hated to tell them goodbye, but a new batch of calves always came along needing her care. She got hurt a lot, smashed into fences, bit, kicked, cut, ripped, lost her boots in manure pools when it rained, frostbite in winter, wet, frozen, sunburned, scalded. She got infections every season, stayed home long enough to pretend she was well, and went back to the farm. If she quit, it's because someone tried to tell her how to do her job. She got mad because her replacement didn't know the calves' routine or didn't treat them right or tried to steal her job. She went back to get her cow and calf friends back on track. It was dangerous on the farm and on the way to the farm. Hit by a truck when she was walking home one night, knocked into the borrow pit, her phone lost in a snowbank, Threatened by an old boyfriend, my daughter went through 3 boyfriends on that farm. 2 of them beat her up. The 3rd one beat them up. The 3rd boyfriend is her current boyfriend. He gives her cows, cow knickknacks, cow sweatshirts, cow paraphernalia, a big white fluffy stuffed cow. My daughter's boyfriend made sure that stuffed cow went with her to the hospice care center last week. It was the first thing she saw when she woke up after the doctors got her meds adjusted and after they told her she only had days left to live. I called. She picked up the phone. There's a big white fluffy cow sitting on my bed. If you don't know the story, you'd think she was delirious, but it was the stuffed cow. I heard the joy in her voice. She hasn't spoken since that phone call 3 days ago. Hasn't spoken, hasn't eaten, has only slept. Slept without pain, thanks to those good hospice meds. I think she might sleep her way right into cow heaven. Maybe in her sleep, she's walking there right now, the way she loved walking to the farm. The weather's nice, music's playing, she's singing to the cows.
Thank you to our first 3 open mic readers. Star, amazing as always. You've got my wife crying. And now our next 3 readers are me. I have to follow that. Sully, and I'm sorry if I mispronounced this, Marnonta?
No.
Gotcha, perfect. I'll go ahead and start. Grab mine. I'm shook up, that was incredible. All right, so the piece I'm going to read is the first 7 minutes of the first chapter of a novel I've been working on with Jennifer Seiner up at USU. It is kind of like my thought baby, and I've been saving it for a good, featured reader who kind of also did fantasy and stuff like that. So felt like this was a good fit, but I will get going as soon as I start a timer for myself. Okay. Opening his eyes, Shin sees a litany of stars. Precious few settlements exist in the wild land of Kresha. On cloudless nights, the constellation's brilliance makes them come alive. Shin gazes at those distant lights from his bedroll, imagining a battle between massive cosmic powers. Once one of the imaginary titans falls, he looks around. Next to him, asleep on her own bedroll, lies his mother, Shu. Her breath comes slow and even as she dreams. Sleep loves her well and holds her tight until dawn's light gilds her porcelain skin. She differs from everyone Shin has ever seen, including himself. As an elf, her hip-length hair shines like silver, her ears have prominent points, and her skin remains perpetually fair, regardless of its time in the sun. All elves possess similar features. Shin wears a buckskin shirt, leather pants, and moccasins, traditional garb of the nomadic elfin culture Shu grew up in, but he couldn't look more separate from her. He feels the tips of his round ears, and a sense of loneliness courses through him. His black hair falls around his shoulders, and his tan skin shows his human side. He also has an affinity for swordplay that Shu finds distasteful. Shin feels different from her in every way. Their distinctions occupy more of his mind with each passing day. As he watches her sleep, he wonders how many elves still live. She has raised him for longer than he can remember. In all that time, they've never encountered another of their kind. Shin struggles to find sleep the way his mother does. A powerful, unidentifiable passion burns within the boy on starry nights like this. Some internal source of unease beckons him. Unable to subdue his restlessness, he rises from his bedroll, stretches his back and sighs before shuffling to a nearby boulder. At its base rests a pack filled with everything the pair owns: food, extra clothes, survival tools, and a sword strapped to the outside. Shin takes the cloth-covered weapon and begins to unwrap it. Kid cleaver, Shin's only inheritance from a father he never knew. Gold trim glints in the moonlight. Intricate carvings, the meanings of which remain unknown to Shin, run down the length of its ebony scabbard. The crossguard takes the shape of featherless black wings spread in flight. Its spiked pommel ensures even a blunt strike with the weapon can kill. Precious metals line the weapon's form and give it incredible value, requiring it remains hidden, lest the pair become the target of bandits. Shin draws the blade and it sings with delight. He holds it up to his eye lengthwise, searching for any imperfections. Nothing new. The garish longsword dwarfs the lad, but his desire to live up to his father's legacy, what little he knows of it, forces him to steal away and practice whatever he can. Shin has no formal training, but his many late nights swinging Kincleaver make the sword feel a part of him. These early morning hours present the best opportunity to practice unhindered by Shu's condemnations of violence. He takes a deep breath. The blade screams through the air horizontally, comes to a perfect stop at the end of its arc. Shin makes sure to keep it steady. He imagines fields of warriors before him, then rushes headfirst into their midst. Kincleaver hums as it moves, felling one imagined foe after the other as Shin's breath grows labored. A downward swipe cuts through a collarbone. A horizontal slash rends a foe in two. A spinning cut followed by a retreat for better footing. He continues this almost nightly ritual, crushing his phantom enemies until just before dawn. As the last foe falls, sunlight peeks over the horizon and Shin realizes the time. He hastily rewraps Kincleaver, ties it onto their pack, and returns to his bedroll just as Shu begins to stir. She sits up and stretches, arms reaching toward the sun. "Good morning, dearest one," she says. "Did you sleep well?" "Yes," Shin answers, "but I'm starving. What's for breakfast?" Eager as ever to tackle the day, I see. Shu's smile paints her words with love, and she rubs sleep from her emerald eyes. Her attention lingers on Shin a moment before she gets to her feet and rifles through their pack for breakfast. She produces 2 lettuce-wrapped bundles of chopped carrots, turnips, and onions. The bundles come from gardens Shu has tended since she arrived in this land with the infant Shin in tow. No elves live here, only humans. Shu left everything she ever knew behind, all to bring her boy here. Now, 10 years later, they travel between 7 homegrown havens, each with different edible plants to suit their respective climates. Located within difficult-to-reach or abandoned places in Kresha, the gardens remain a closely guarded secret to ensure no one finds the 2 elves. The journey from one to the next can take days or even weeks, with the pair picking campsites far from the beaten path as they go. They spend weeks in each garden recuperating and tending the plants before continuing their eternal procession. Shin has asked why they don't stay in one place, but Shu tends to avoid direct answers to questions like those. They eat mostly vegetables grown from those gardens and edible roots and herbs they find on their journey from one to the next. While each of their gardens favor specific plants, all have at least lettuce and carrots due to their ease of growing. Occasionally, they trap small game to properly fuel their bodies. Shin loves the taste of meat, but their vegetables keep longer on the road, and Shu abhors taking life without cause. She devoutly follows her elven upbringing, placing great sanctity on all forms of life. "Here," Shu says, extending a bundle of vegetables to the boy. Shin snatches it from her outstretched hand and plops himself on his bedroll, legs crossed. "Thanks, Mama," he says between loud crunches. He quickly finishes the first and asks for another. Lack of sleep never seems to affect Shin. What energy he loses at night, he typically regains with a feast the following morning. He scarfs down his second bundle and then begins packing their belongings for the day of travel. They've traveled for a few weeks now, and their next garden sits within a forested glade where they will rest until seasons tell them to move on. There, a natural spring flows into the Stranda River on its way to the sea. Shu's excitement shows in her wide grin. After breakfast, she sits down cross-legged to meditate, an elven practice. She sets her daily intent while remembering what she values most. She sings softly in Old Elvish, reveling in the new sun. This morning, she sings, I put a little song in here in the celebration to Tolkien. I'm not going to sing it for you, but I will read it. O King of Light, O Spark of Sun, the ever-present knowing one. When comes thy warmth, when spreads thy love, when peace rules all from high above. The wind, the stone, the light, the rain, the flame of ever-present pain. The love, the hate, the fear, the stain, shall all be washed away again. O Queen of Night, O Shine of Moon, the way of the approaching doom. When comes thy hate, when flies thy ire, when seas run dry and lands expire. The wind, the stone, the light, the rain, the flame of ever-present pain. the warmth, the love for life and pain shall come and shan't depart again. And we'll stop there.
I think I was next, but I'm not gonna read, so whoever does after me.
Hi. So, last October, I got a liver transplant, and I was in the hospital for 3 months. And then, while I was in the hospital, I found out a lot of other things were wrong with my body, but one of them was kind of important. Well, they were all important, but this one was particularly important. So I just have one poem. Please fix my broken heart. The valves are leaking, weeping. Please fix my broken heart. It is racing, beating. Please fix my broken heart before I stop living, breathing.
All right, our next three readers will be Yash, Jan, and Tim.
Okay, I have two short nonfiction pieces. Both of these are from the last month. Star shared her cow piece, and Jan is sharing hers, so I have to share mine. Our prompt was to use the word cow or orange or ghost or fuck. I used all four. Cow is one of the meanings you can derive from the word cunt. When Oliver said the word cow on a drive to, I don't remember where, Whiteheads responded with, yes, your mom is a cow. I laugh now because I've had students call me donkey when I have to correct them for saying ass. But when I think of cow, I think of the cow's skull, staring back at me surrounded by daisies and the grayscale of oracle cards. Something about being grounded or nurturing, almost motherly. To call her a cow would be to forget the kind of critical thinking we humans try to claim as our humanity against animals. That despite my Christian upbringing, or more likely because of, I will judge her. Orange is one of the words you can use to describe my hair. I hated the color orange. I hated when people would call my hair that ugly Orania word. I hated that I hated the color orange when Peter said that he loved orange because it reminded him of sunsets. I tell people my hair is red. Red, red, red. And I hate it when girls dye their hair anything from neon red to a more natural tone and claim they're a redhead. Hashtag natural redhead when I can clearly see the brown roots of your hair. And yet, as much as I call it red, I cringe at the guys and gals with redhead fetishes and the question sitting in my DMs, is it red down there too? My red, not my orange, cunt, orange cow. Ghost was the only vocab word to come to mind when my PTSD symptoms took a new turn at 4 years old. Flashback was a word for movies or fiction or when you talked about the mentally insane, not generally appropriate exposure to a preschooler. Rape wouldn't be in my vocabulary area until I was 13. Think middle school boys and their rape jokes. Yet it was middle school boys who starred in the second episode of sexual violence in my life. But before then it was just haunted, just nightmares, just this wordless image in the brain of an aphantasia child. Just touch and flavors and smells and sensations living in my body like possession, like ghosts. Just an adult now treating a haunting so that the ghosts keep out of my orange cow. Fuck. It played on a loop in my mind in middle school. A Mormon child, hesitant to say the word, for fear of what, I don't even know. The first time I said it aloud was between periods, probably lunch. I said it to my best friend, I want to fuck Misano. Misano was the name of an anime character I was obsessed with at the time. I'm not sure it was if it was a sentence worthy of my first fuck, but better than most middle schoolers trying to cram 4 curse words into a 7-word sentence. Amateurs. I was shedding freckled skin. I was kissing girls and wearing wigs and calling myself the best boyfriend you'll ever have. I was reading smut and yaoi manga and entering my era of sex craze to justify my trauma to myself. I was telling my girlfriend that, yeah, I was raped at a middle school dance too. All the layers were peeling and all the words were filling my vocabulary. Bisexual, gay, fetish, prostitute, porn, rape, smut, trans, vulva, fuck. This second piece, our prompt was to write about a creature that frightens you. Gender is weird. I'm just the creature, Ashley said over the phone. I've known Ashley as a not yet gender questioning Danish boy who could be a subby flustered and rudely blunt in accent drowned English. The kind of boy who'd been smoking since he was 9, got blackout drunk every weekend, and carried a loaded gun to his high school every day because of how bad he was being bullied. I'd known Ashley as a non-binary kid who spent the day playing Minecraft and moved out of their parents' house at 14 because of a transphobic father, whose mom was a supportive ally but would now call non-binary folks names if given the opportunity. I'd known Ashley as the trans femme who wasn't feminine enough to get HRT, wasn't suicidal enough to get therapy, and even growing out her hair and dressing femme, looked in the mirror and would say she looked like wet concrete. And now I've met the creature. The creature is the adult version of Ashley that doesn't lack the maturity they had way back when we met, but who is less certain in it. Not only does the creature feel like it's supposed to have everything in life figured out when it doesn't, it even lacks the awareness of most. The creature does not know its favorite color, cannot tell you what it likes to eat, does not know its preferences. As if older versions of Ashley had been eaten up in its presence. The creature looks in the mirror and does not know who it is. It sees a creature, what it believes is hideous, dangerous, and unlovable. An image that is part cyborg, part alcoholic father. The creature watches its skin blister out and its claws grow and its reflection shapeshift into someone unrecognizable. To me, the creature is soft, friendly as a puppy, sweet as honey. I smile as I stare at teddy bear eyes peeking out of the blanket the creature hides itself under. Cute. I'm not cute, Ashley will huff. I'm a big, scary, vicious monster. Roar! Okay, my big, scary, vicious monster. I am not scared of Ashley, but sometimes I am scared of the creature. Sometimes I see Ashley's creature in short, drunken calls, in stories Ashley tells, in moments Ashley splits and can become so cold, voice void of tone, masked up. I see Ashley's fear that they will turn into their father. I have met the creature many times in the years we've dated and in the rare moment in our friendship prior. But I am not afraid of the creature because of its claws or its fangs or its grotesqueness. I am scared of an Ashley who looks in the mirror, sees the voidness of their soul staring them back and says to me, I don't know who I am, I don't know what I feel, and I don't know if I've ever loved you. Thank you.
Hello. Again, the prompt was to write about these 4 words, one or all of them. The words were orange, ghost, cow, fuck. This is what I did. Wow, I just saw a ghost fuck an orange cow. Or was it an orange ghost fuck a cow? Or did a cow fuck a ghost until it turned orange? No matter, I'm seeing weird things these days. The world is full of weird things right now. Everything seems topsy-turvy. What used to be right is now wrong. What used to be true is false. What used to be good is evil. What used to be rule of law is now rule of lawlessness. There's no need for this. It is mainly due to an orange egomaniac who lives on power and domination. He's ugly and dumb as a cow. I wish he was a ghost. And collectively, the world says to him, fuck off.
Tim, I think you're up. And then after Tim, we'll have Katie, Tiffany, and Ava.
We're running short on time. Why don't I just go to the next person on the list?
We want Tim. Sit up there.
Thank you for that. That's quite the ego boost. Joseph, could you kill that?
Was it me? Hello, this one is called a library. I can still you, a room in which to collect, treasure, and unfold, a force of liberating. Focus your eyes and mind, everything makes sense, also the fire there. The heavy heat, barricaded flames, a fine sweep. I'm not lost, I'm exploring. Scarlet fortunes, merchanting heraldry, something undelicate, regal and majestic, believed to be very multifaceted. Sentiment inside, calculated, lasting. Hours reside, bolstered by the delicate rain. Charred ash from the time spent stilling you. I can still you. It hovers to rest under the stairs, changing everything and nothing. Then this one is called Candle. Our love is true love. It is our very essence, spirit weaved from the same from the core of our soul, this thread, string, wick. A lover's knot enduring throughout the darkness and all of life's variability. Our spark tonight ignites the fire of the aura, a shield and a warm touch. Look at it grow. It fills all space. White shining for all, but what I see is only you and me within your halo. My reverence for you, it encourages me with strength, to be a guard against any danger, but my beauty, our one nature, keeps us safe from all harm. Like the days, nights, and memories we share and shared throughout our lifetimes, turning into gleaming treasures, we're meant to be connected at all times. Our unity in the twin flames of sacred fire, the rising of the holy incense, always flowing northwest to the sun in the east, south to Gan Eden. Place me upon the highest wall, the tallest tower, or upon the mount, or better yet, up with you among the stars. So they can see us, whose love is divine, the purest form of love, the only one shows, forever burning and unconsumed in eternal flame, that can never be extinguished, inspiring prayers of enduring and dying hope for sacred remembrance forevermore. In all of this, they can see us. Always it leads us like a torch toward the flat white, even light. The heart is a candle, burn it well. Then this last one I started yesterday. I thought it was going to be 2 or 3 lines. And I finished it today. This is the first time I'm ever reading it, so I hope for the best. A dove. A dusty crowned ashen dove from the lack of interior running water. Underneath the occupied air and all the burning, preserving life force, or need for the renewed earth. This bird to be made clean by being set freed from the guarded threshold by the flood and the storms that called all of them, by finding respite. Endures loneliness, discomfort, and danger to secure and protect the ark as a messenger. Of all the paths to seek after, be sure a few of them lead through the wilderness of the earth and of the sea. Out of all of these endless possibilities, hold fast to the line of that hope. Weaving our way towards the middle, relatively expected with all of their spirits praying for peace, as the Father instructs us. Watch for the hand on the branch from the long-hidden submerged tree with the key, a sprig of olive, to be held aloft by the dove floating in the deep.
the augury magnificent of this uncommon fruit, hope, peace, rest. Filling you, for now hidden in the shadow of your wings, the circle is almost complete. Although cut in half, it represents eternity. From the dawn of this epoch, the dove, a sign of hope, generally represents the human spirit at peace and rest, a companion through every storm, and a relief the conscience carries messages, scouts locations, and examines hearts, a sign of grace. The rightness of a thought, the ultimate signal of truth, the way of the highest holiest incorruptible emblem called one joy. This burden gift held out to this new family of the retrieving, securing hope, peace, rest, and rest together by letting us know through any fear, hard hope, uncertainty, or doubt. 1, 2, 3, healing is coming, and storms don't last forever. Everything is all right, everything is good, everything is perfect, and I love them. And after this I gave unto them, God gave unto them an additional new sign, for he did say many things of good tidings and fortune, and half arc in the sky of color and light, a rainbow instilling in the air, an exalted reaction of awe, true wonder and spiritual rebirth. The world would never be flooded again, for God is gracious and God is love. Storm, flood, animals, ark, dove, olive sprig, then the rainbow. They stand for singular aspects of the complete human story. Universal and unique in its origin, God is in the background and the forefront of all the details in our lives, even those we can't see. Thanks to you, the safe sign sent of the olive and the dove and the rainbow above, for God is gracious and God is love. And that's inspired by Christopher Vogler's The Writer's Journey. Thank you.
So I'm gonna preface this, they're a little bit dark. They were written in the middle of my divorce, but I'm okay now. So. This first one is called Ghost. I feel you in my bed, I see you in everyday things. I hear you in the music we listen to. But it's all a mirage, and it hurts. It's like you're there, but just out of reach. I dreamed I touched your face, but when I awoke, you dissipated, like a beautiful, horrible illusion. You said you could never hate me. If you don't hate me, how could you hurt me so much? You told me you'd never ghost me. Are you a ghost? No, you're worse than a ghost. You're a poltergeist. Taunting me, messing with my life in the most frustrating of ways. I can't see you or touch you, but you're haunting me. Get out of my head. The second one is called Pain. This pain hurts so much deeper, cuts me like a knife. You knew my past. You said you would never use it against me, like everyone else. I believed you. You had a snake for a tongue all along. I just couldn't see it. I was like a mistrusting cat, finally showing my underbelly, only for you to dig your claws in the most vulnerable parts of me. I was in such a scary place, but I felt comfort with you. False comfort, I know that now. Will you come back? What if you do? Do I want you to? You used me like all the others and threw me away like the butt of your cigarette. This third one is called Fallacy. You left me just like all the others, but that's okay, I'm used to it by now. Or am I? Do I just tell myself this lie so it hurts less when you leave? They all eventually leave. I'm broken, shattered to pieces with every soul I thought might be kind this time. Will I ever be whole by myself? Are we ever truly whole? This next one is called Flames. You flowed through me like blood in my veins. Our connection was so magnetic, but we burned so hot, so fast that the flames never stood a chance. We were two catastrophes on a collision course we never saw coming. This last one is called Him. Why do we trick ourselves, thinking he's different, he's not like all the others, he would never hurt me? Time and time again we tell ourselves these wretched lies. We open up and get torn to pieces all over again, perpetuating the cycle of pain, only to come to the same conclusion. The only person who will ever love me is myself. Am I unworthy of love? Thank you.
This first one is called Cocaine, Etc. Don't eat the sugar, O sweet-toothed children of God. Halt your tongue's slickness, stop and hold your sinners still. He started snorting again. And then this next one is a villanelle. I'm not sure if you have ever tried writing a villanelle. I'm never doing it again. I want to be like thunder if I can, a sound like a kick drum sprawling like the good Lord in Godland. I'm one to note the tremors in my hands and how the worlds I create are now withdrawing. I want to be like thunder if I can. How can one write when one is commanded to dance? There is no chilling beneath the great hotel's awning, as the good Lord does in Godland. Lightning, I learned, is what people understand. The nature of it being there and gone is enthralling, but I would prefer to be like thunder if I can. I'd have died long ago without my pen I used to stand. I can't rely on something so small to stop me from falling up to the good Lord in Godland. What can I do to make my writing grand? How can I prove to earth my belonging? I want to be like thunder if I can, like the good Lord in Godland. And this next one is a first draft that I probably shouldn't read yet, but I'm going to anyway. I am a big CEO, and this pond is pissing me off. I tried buying it off with a quarter. I told it, I wish you would disappear, you archaic fuck. But that didn't work. Neither did dollar bills of any value from 1 to 100. I tried bribing City Hall to put up a beautiful parking garage where the pond is. And I can't remember if 10 million was my first or final bid, but either way, they just said, the amount we make off that pond between mad business people like yourself and children who will grow to be mad at business people like yourself is more than you can afford. I leaned over my reflection in the pond.
The library will close in 20 minutes. The public computers, meeting rooms, and study rooms will close in 5 minutes.
I leaned over my reflection in the pond water and threatened to bomb it with all the illegal armaments I could procure. As if responding to my threat, a koi fish calmly swam to the surface, past all the green, broke apart my face reflected in the water, stuck its little fish lips out and said, I love pond life.
All right, thank you everyone for reading your wonderful writing and for coming to celebrate Tim's wonderful writing.
Yeah.
Please join us next time. Oh, what is the date? I forget it.
26.
The 26th, where we will have the Bullpen, the USU's Creative Writing Club, and they will all be reading some of their work. It will be fantastic.
Yeah.
If you could please take just one chair over to the little thingies over there, that would be great. And also make sure to grab a flyer from Tim so you can pre-order his book.
It's
They
over by
are-
the coffee.
Buy the coffee, so grab them. Thank you guys.
Thank you, Woody.